Hey, with Mark from Legacy Media, and this is the fourth webinar on MailChimp March. I'm not in the office today, so I am on the laptop. So I haven't got as many sort of notes around me as I usually do, but you'll have to forgive me. So yeah, let's crack on. This this webinar tonight is based on GDPR in MailChimp. Now, I'm going to have to make a disclaimer before we really get into this. I'm not, or this isn't legal advice. This is experience from my perspective, and I will be going over a few sort of rules on GDPR and how to set up MailChimp so it's compliant from some of the research that I've done. Now, some of the GDPR rules are quite ambiguous, and there's a bit of an argument, or there's some arguments and discrepancies over some of the rules, so we'll talk about that. But the main reason on this webinar is to go over to discuss the GDPR field that's in MailChimp, the setting that's built in, and what that is basically trying to cover. So there are a few things we need to go over. Obviously, we do need to be GDPR compliant if we're using, or if we're having people, if we're operating from the EU, or if we have people on our list, or if we're targeting people in the EU. We do have to be seen to at least trying to comply to GDPR rules. Now, like I said, the GDPR rules are quite ambiguous. They're quite open to interpretation. So, people see these fines and things at the ICO that are handing out, but, mainly they're looking at sort of big companies that are doing big data breaches, people who are, clearly misusing data. And they're the people that they're targeting with the fines. Obviously, there's lots of small businesses out there. There's lots of people setting up email lists, and the ICO can't keep on top of all of them. But if you're seen to be complying, then, or at least trying to comply to GDPR rules, then I don't see any issues that you're going to encounter. So we are going to go over a few little things. So let's see. So quickly, I just want to go over double opt-in first. Double opt-in is not something that is required by GDPR, but I know, while we're talking about these topics of rules and things, I know that in Canada, GDPR is double opt-in is a must. And I think it's the same for Germany and Australia, and possibly some other countries as well. So if you are targeting people from those countries as well, then your your double opt-in settings are, if you go to list, and when it loads, and if we click on this down arrow here and go to settings, this name and default, and we have our form settings here. Double opt-in is turned on. We can also enable recapture as well, and that's just an extra process in the step, just to make sure that people are actually human. And just while we are here, this is where we turn on the included MailChimp GDPR field. So yeah, I reach out to people all around the world for the sort of training and advice, so I have enabled the double opt-in, just so I'm compliant with the users from the countries that I'm reaching, in Canada, any in Germany or Australia. While we're here, we are going to enable the GDPR fields, and just save that. Now, just while we're talking about double opt-in, when we double opt into something, What that's going to do is the sequence is basically people are going to fill out your form, whether it's on a MailChimp landing page or on a website or wherever that's hosted, and they are going to then be sent an email. And in that email, they have to click to confirm that they want to be on your list, and that's double opt-in. Once they've signed up for the list, once they've clicked on the email, that's 2 points of confirming that they want to opt into your email. Now, when you fill in a landing page and you initially fill out your name and your email address on the opt-in form, often that will then forward on to another page, like a thank you page, where that may have your free ebook if that's what you're giving away, or take somebody to a webinar recording as such. Now, I know people have asked the question that, if you've got double opt-in turned on, why are they going to that landing page, that thank you page? That's basically sequence after people fill in your form. If you don't have that, there's always somewhere that somebody will go to when they've completed your opt-in form, and that is the thank you page. Or sometimes you can just have a little message saying, thank you for opting in. You can customize that message, say go and check your emails, and then have your free offer or video or whatever in your first proper email of your sequence after they've double opted in. But yes, if you've got double opt-in turned on and you're putting your offer on a thank you page, then people can fill in your form, they go to your thank you page, they can watch a video or get your free ebook and not actually click on the double opt-in link. So they are not actually going onto your list, and you won't see them on your list. So that might be something that you want to consider about how you give away your freebies, whether you actually want to do it on a landing page or whether you want to do it in your first email. But that's entirely up to you how you decide your process. Okay, so we've turned on the MailChimp GDPR fields, and we're going to go over sort of what this is intended to do, and how we can actually still be GDPR compliant without using this GDPR setting. So, first of all, what is data? So when we are running our business and we need to collect data off people, there's certain things that we might need in order to offer information out to them. For example, I was doing some work with a kennel recently, and the data that they need to collect is quite a lot of data. They need people's names, they need people's addresses, they need people's telephone numbers, they need the pet's name, microchip details, their pet details, what else do they need? What food they eat, what else was there on there? Emergency contact details, and there's so much information that they need to run their business, and a lot of that information is actually governed by the licensing authority that enables them to run their business. So they need to gather a lot of data on people. Now, this data really sort of helps identify who somebody is. So when you've got that much data, you really sort of it could really be used to sort of target somebody, whether maliciously or not, or whether it's for marketing material. So when people are giving you that data, they're entrusting you to keep that data, because that data belongs basically to the person who's giving it out. That's their private data. And when they give it to you, they're entrusting you to look after it securely, and not share it with third parties unless absolutely necessary. And for you to use that data for provide the services that you need to provide. If you're asking for data that's not relevant, then you're going against GDPR rules. You only need to collect data that's relevant for you to actually offer your services to the user. So data can be anything from name, age, email address, date of birth, anything that's unique to the person. So in this example, we're going to go over, say, like a free offer, for somebody to opt in and get onto our email list. So when we consider what data we're going to need, we're going to need email, because that's going to be our primary method of communication. And possibly first name, just so it can be a bit more personal. It's not really necessary, but we could justify that we need that to be able to sort of identify who we send an email out to. Do we need somebody's date of birth? Not really. Do we need somebody's address? Not really, not unless you're actually going to be sending them a physical product. Do we need their telephone number? Not in this situation, but you may need it to offer your business services. So you've got to understand what data is necessary to collect for your business. Okay, so GDPR, as I said, is applicable to EU customers, and if you're operating in the EU. GDPR rules states that when you're seeking permission to obtain somebody's data, people need to give you permission to store that data. When you have your form, it's got to be people have got to be able to freely insert the data that you request, and you have to give some sort of permission, and it has to be a positive action on the user's side. So let me try and explain that a bit more clearly. When somebody gives you information, they have to not just only type it in, but they have to take a positive action to confirm that they are giving you permission to store and use that data as necessary. So simply filling in a opt-in form and clicking on submit. I click on submit technically is a positive action for somebody to opt in. So the other things we need to be aware of with GDPR is we need to prove that permission has been given. So what I include is a checkbox or a radio button where people can actually have to click that checkbox or slide the radio button in order to sign up for my list. So that is a positive action they have to take. And when we're talking about checkboxes or radio buttons, we can't have these selected by default. So when somebody comes to our list, like in the old days, there would be a checkbox to say, yes, I agree to marketing permissions or something like that. And it would already be ticked for us. So if we didn't want those marketing permissions, we had to untick it. Now with GDPR, that is not allowed. People have to tick that box themselves. It counts as a positive action. And then we can use that to keep a record of people confirming that they are given permission. So that's something else we need to be aware of when we are importing a list as well. If we import a list of email addresses from somewhere, we've got no way of proving that there's people on that list have given us any permission at all to actually contact them and send them email messages and marketing material. So if you are importing a list from somewhere, if you're importing it from another email platform, and that email platform has some proof of them agreeing to marketing permissions or to being on your list, then that will be evidence for your MailChimp list. If you're importing a list of emails and you've got no evidence, then basically you're going to have to send out an email to all those people, asking them for permission, and then keeping a record of the people who respond. And the people who don't respond, you can't email them. You cannot send them any emails about your business, because there's no proof that they've actually opted in to receive emails from you. Another thing, you need to give your users an easy way to opt out again. MailChimp takes care of this. They have a unsubscribe link at the bottom of every email by default. And they also have a link to manage their subscriptions as well. So if they've opted in for various different things within your email list, then they can change their preferences there as well. You need to have a privacy policy on your website, and in that privacy policy, you need to state what you are going to be using people's data for. This is all about transparency. So you need to state why you're collecting data on people, what you're going to use that data for, how you're going to use that data going forward, especially if you're doing a sort of lead magnet where people can opt in for a freebie. You know, when you get that email address off somebody, what are you going to be using that email address for? You need to state all the circumstances if you're going to be sending marketing material, if you're going to be sending material from third parties but are relevant to the business that they've opted in for. If you're going to use that email to offer out to third parties, you need to state that. But again, it's all got to be relevant for your business, and it's kind of like a complicated thing about where this relevancy is. But basically, in your privacy policy, you've got to be transparent with what you're going to be using that data for, and that data has to be relevant to why they opted in the first place. If you offer a free ebook on how to clean cars, for example, because we're using this Play and Valet newsletter, if you offer that ebook on how to clean cars, and then you start sending emails on getting cheap airfares or stuff, you are going against GDPR, because you are now sending them information that's not relevant to why they signed up in the first place. And you can't even state in your privacy policy that you're going to send them alternative emails on alternative topics, because it's not relevant to the reason that they signed up for in the first place. So you can ask this question to yourself: on my sign-up form, did I clearly explain how I'd use subscribers' data and what content I'd send them, and can I prove it? Always have a copy of your privacy policy, and always take a snapshot as well of your opt-in form as well. And on your opt-in forms, make sure you've got a link to your privacy policy, and use words to the effect of, by signing up for this free ebook, you are agreeing to terms of use as set out in my privacy policy, or words to that effect. In your privacy policy as well, don't forget third-party links, third-party terms and condition links. So, for example, you're storing information on MailChimp, so there are terms and conditions of MailChimp that your user has to agree to as well. And I'll go over some of the links when we discuss when we look into the MailChimp GDPR form. Also, as well, if you're using things like the Facebook Pixel or Google advertising, LinkedIn advertising, and they've got tracking cookies, make sure as well that you inform people about that within your privacy policy, and just be transparent that you are going to target them for advertising in the future. Again, make sure they've got that opportunity to unsubscribe, which they can within MailChimp. As I said earlier, double opt-in is not required for GDPR, but it is kind of like an industry standard good practice, and it is required by law in certain countries. Canada, Germany, Australia are 3 that I know about, and there's probably more. When you are collecting data from people, you need to make sure that it is secured. It is stored securely. So MailChimp, when you collect data, emails and names and everything in MailChimp, is stored securely because it cannot be accessed without logon details and a protected password to use. But if you export a list into a CSV file, that CSV file is not, if you stick that then on a USB stick, that CSV file is then not safe. That data is not secure unless it's password protected or something like that. So you need to be aware when exporting lists, what you do with that data once you've exported it. If you store it, if you carry it around, if you print it, then it becomes unsecure, and you need to make sure you take adequate action to keep that data secure. So more things we need, the date and the time the subscriber opted in. MailChimp gets that information anyway. The source of the opt-in, MailChimp gets that as well. And as I said before, it's recommended that you take a screenshot of the data collection mechanism. Basically what that is your sign-up form, so that if people complain, you can say, well, this is what they filled in. And if you've got that link to your privacy policy, if you've got that positive action checkbox, then you are showing that you are complying to, or you're at least attempting to comply with GDPR regulations. Okay, so let's have a look at the GDPR form. So we've turned it on. Let's go to our sign-up forms. And this might not be how it looks as default because I've played about with this in the past. So we're just going to get this up. Let's have a look. Okay, so we're just going to get rid of a few of these things that we're not going to need for this demonstration. That one. Right. Okay, I can't delete this. These checkboxes at the moment because we've got some automation set up to send to it. Okay, so we're just gonna ignore that one for now. But as you can see here, we've got this is the GDPR field here, where it says marketing permissions. Please select all the ways that you would like to hear from Play and Valet. Email, direct marketing, and customized online advertising. You can also subscribe at any time by clicking in the link in the footer of our email. For more information about our privacy policy, our privacy practice, please visit our website. And then it's got this here as well. We use MailChimp as our marketing platform. By clicking below to subscribe, you acknowledge that your information will be transferred to MailChimp for processing. Learn more about MailChimp's privacy practices here. So in your privacy policy, you will put, you probably do well to just copy that sentence actually, and that link, and put that in your privacy policy, so that people are aware that the information that they submit on your website will be transferred to MailChimp, and it will be stored for processing there. So that is a necessary step for your business. MailChimp is the platform that stores and one way you process the data to contact people. That's acceptable step. Obviously, just make sure people are aware of it. be transparent, put that in your privacy policy. Now, we've got this on our form, and if we just go to this on its own, new tab, we can see that this is quite a lengthy form for what we need. We're going to get rid of this block here, the one with the spelling mistake. But as you can see, this is quite a lengthy form, really, for a simple opt-in for an ebook. Really, all we want is the first name, email address, and the opt-in button. All this stuff here, it's not relevant to us really, apart from the only thing we're going to be doing is emailing and possibly custom online advertising, like running Facebook adverts to people. Some of this really isn't relevant in the first place. We do have the option of changing this. We can call this, instead of marketing permissions, we can call it anything we like. You can call it GDPR confirmation or something like that. We can put a better description in. Sort of contact preferences, how we'd like to contact you. You can put in there things like receive newsletters. That could be one of the things that people agree to receive. Marketing permissions, we could have that on there. That's one of the way that people could agree to marketing permissions. We can agree to customize online ads. But what if people don't select any of those boxes and then click on submit? They can still get your freebie, but you can't then do anything with them. They're not opted in. They haven't given you permission to contact them. You really can't go ahead and do any marketing to them in the future. It kind of seems pretty pointless to be able to have that facility where people can just take your freebie and you don't get anything really in exchange at all. Technically, your lead magnet is not a freebie. The main reason you created that is to give it away in exchange for somebody's email address, so that you can have a fair chance of promoting your business and your services to people and send them relevant information that may be of benefit to them. Obviously, if that's what you're going to do, then that's absolutely fine. If you are going to misuse people's data, then yeah, you're going to find yourself in a world of trouble. But really what we want to do is, if we have a lead magnet, we want to exchange that freebie for somebody's email and have a fair chance of then letting people know about our services or other products that may be relevant to them. And that's the whole reason why we have these lead magnets and these opt-in forms, really. So how do we do that so that we stay GDPR compliant? And still maintaining a nice, simple opt-in form without all this unnecessary bump. So the first thing you need to do is make sure you have that privacy policy in place. And I did find a template, a website that creates a template for you, and I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head. So I've got privacy policy generator. That's the one. IUBender. IUBender gives you an easy way to generate a GDPR compliant privacy policy and cookie policy, and they do all sorts of other ones as well. And it's literally you enter a few details, and it basically creates this whole policy for you that you can then copy and paste somewhere into your website. So make sure that's done. Make sure you have your privacy policy in place, and then what we can do is get rid of the GDPR. Get rid of the GDPR marketing permissions box, So we're just going to click at that. And turn that one off. Save. Okay. Back to lists. On a sign up form, sorry. Back to the form builder. What I'm quickly going to do, actually, I just want to get rid of this this offers box here. So I just want to get rid of that. So I'm just going to go into campaigns and delete the campaigns that are running to it. Got clean the epoch, so I'm just going to pause that. Okay, get rid of it. Okay, let's just edit. Pause all emails. What else have I got? Is that it? That should be. Oh no, there's one there. Pause. Let's take a look. See if we can edit that form now. Sign up forms. Send to it. What else? PPDF. That's cool. That one. Let's delete that one. What else we got? We still got draft published, sent draft. Ongoing landing pages. So hopefully we can do this now. Let's just refresh the page. Let's get rid. Wow, this set's a good to it. All right, I'm just going to see. Publish. publish. Right, no ongoing campaign draft. Let's just delete them all. Delete. Accounts. Oh, it's got that. Delete. Completed. Let's just delete them all. Right. Right, no campaigns on the go. Let's refresh this page. There you go. Oh, it's still there. No, it's gone. There we go. Right. Okay, so that's deleted. So this is kind of what we want. We just want first name, email address, let me in. Now, we want that positive action or that extra positive action that we're going to use. So I'm just going to use a checkbox. Now, what this is going to do is this is going to put people into a group. So we want to call this field, so, what do we want to call this? Mine's gone blank. Privacy policy. And we're going to call this in fact, we cannot use this because we cannot make this required. So it's actually no good. That's why I don't use checkboxes. So what we can do is use I know we can use radio buttons for one. We can get rid of the options. And we can set this to required. We can name the field to privacy policy, and we can call the choice. So I agree to the I agree let's fix some words now. I agree to the data use as set up in the privacy policy. Let's just save that. Save. Go away. It's being slow. Go on, go away. Okay. So what we've done now is we've edited our sign up form and we've said that this field is required. So when people do try to sign up via this link, let's just refresh that. If you do use this form, which as we've gone over in the past webinars, this isn't the best form to use, but by what we've set out here, set the standard for wherever else we put the form. But if you do send people here, they need to enter the first name, they need to enter their email address. We've already put a link to the privacy policy where it will set out what we're going to use data for. So people have that link easily available. They can go and read the privacy policy. They can see exactly what we're going to do with the data, and then it's up to them whether they agree with it or not. Obviously, they need to enter their name. They need to enter an email address. And before they can actually opt in, they need to select the I agree to the data use as set out in the privacy policy radio button. Put the in there, and then they can get in. We've got the confirm humanity turned on. So we'll just verify that. There we go. And then we've still got we've got the double opt-in turned on. So it's telling us to go and confirm the email address and complete the subscription process. So that we have created there. Let's go back. So that is a GDPR compliant opt-in form. It's got a link to the privacy policy where we are transparent about what data we're going to use. It's got 2 positive actions for people who opt in. One is checking that to say that they agree to the privacy policy, and the other positive action is to let me in. As we know, there's an unsubscribe and a manage link at the bottom of every email, so that's conforming to GDPR rules as well. And MailChimp basically handles that for us. And we know everything's secure as well. So we've created a GDPR compliant form that is simple, it's relatively clean, and it's easy to, it's going to look nice on the website without taking up a load of space and looking a bit messy. If you just go to our list now, actually they're not going to be opted in because we haven't done the full opt-in. Okay. If you go to our list though, we've set up this privacy policy section within our sign up form. We can see we've got a column saying privacy policy. Now obviously we've just created that, and that wasn't there in the previous webinars that we've gone over. So these previous email addresses that we've kind of put in, they never sort of clicked on that privacy policy, so that's why it doesn't show it here. So what we're going to do is just going to go over this again with a real email address. Mark, already in there. Already in there. Let's just get rid of me. We're going to subscribe, and we're going to delete. We do not want to archive them. We want to delete them. Okay, so I'm just going to sign up again. Okay, I'm not a robot. Let's try lights. Do they count? Maybe. Okay, let me in. Okay, let me just check my emails. 1 second. Let's have a look. Come on. Okay, so what we're going to do, just to make this easier and quicker, we are going to turn the double opt-in off. Save. Go back to the list. Okay, let's put any old like that. Yeah, let's go back. Right. Any old name. And any old email address. And we agree and let me in. Robot. That one, that one, that one. Let me in. Bridge. Let me in. Right, so Andrew is subscribed. So let's just go back to our list and refresh. Where's Andrew? There we go. We've got Andrew at playandvalet.com. Andrew has ticked, I agree to the data use as set out in the privacy policy. Andrew's source was also the hosted sign-up form, and the date added and the date last changed. As we can see, that he signed up, which is right now. In I'm not sure where the time is, but that's not my local time. I probably got my settings wrong. But that's captured his agreement to the data use as set out in the privacy policy. And as long as you've got a copy of that privacy policy to show, what it was for that date, then he's had the chance to review that privacy policy and make sure he agrees to it. He's signed to tick, say that he agrees to it, and that's all the information captured to comply with GDPR. So if we go to so now when we insert that into our website, we can, let's go to the website. Obviously, depending on what website platform you use, what plugin you use, this is going to vary. But your process for your where you put your form on your landing page, you're going to have a look if this loads. Some point soon. Let's try again. Why is my internet being slow? I'm just going to go and get a glass of water while this is loading because I've got a very dry throat. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Loading. Right, it's not loading. Try this again. Easy forms. Opt-in forms. Okay. So I'm just going to create a new form from scratch. You saw that this is my preferred plugin for creating forms for landing pages on WordPress. So I'm just going to put in GDPR compliant form. It's going to be on the Play and Belay newsletter. So we'll click on create. Come on. Okay, so the forms we want, as we can see now, we've got down here, we want email address, we want first name, and as you can see, we've got the privacy policy checkbox here, and it's also shown the star because we've made that required in MailChimp. So add that as well. Tags, this is going to be for, let's say it's for the car cleaning ebook that we've been using. So we're going to add a tag to the user. And we just want to move these around. And yeah, that is it. You can have, if you hadn't made this as a required form on your builder here, you can still make it a required form within the app here. So when we expand the settings, we've got this required field to be filled in before the form can be submitted. And we can also have a default selection, but as we said, we need this unselected as standard. People have to manually select that checkbox themselves. So that was going to click on update form. Refresh. Damn it. Add. Like issues, right when you don't want them. So the form's still there. To save our preferences, it did not. I'll go through this again. Email address, privacy policy, and we're going to add the tag. The tag's already saved, so we're just going to click on update form. And we're going to do the list setting, the opt-in settings is going to be we're going to do it single for demonstration purposes, just to make the process a bit easier. Update existing subscriber, yes. Update send update email, no. Submission settings, yes. Redirect on submission. So this is what I was talking about before. When we have this redirect on submission, when people complete the form, it redirects them somewhere else, like a thank you page, and here we get to pick up one of our pages from our website. And if we put an offer on that thank you page, then people can fill out the form, get the offer, and never click on the opt-in email, so they won't actually opt into your list. That's why I put the offer on the first email, and I just have a basic thank you page that says thank you. Please go check your emails. If there's any issues or you don't find your emails, get in touch with me at, and some contact details at the bottom. So we're going to have this actually just as a no for now. Hide the form, and we're going to have it update groups. Not that we're actually changing any groups, but I usually leave that on update. I don't want to take them out of a group mistakenly. We'll click on update. So we've now got the shortcode, and we're going to have a page. And let's just go to yeah, let's stick it on the home page. Right, well, I'm just going to put in a new block down here. Let's get some space. Some text. And let's just put in the shortcode. Where's that gone? It's not gone anywhere. Come on. I'm not playing ball tonight. Done. Okay, so we've entered the shortcode. Obviously, we put something like some more text in there. Or grab your free ultimate car cleaning guide. Simply enter your details below, and we will simulate your details below. We're going to click on done there. Old builder. Yeah, we'll leave it like that for now. And then as well, what we will do at the bottom is we'll just add a little bit more text. Get the right one, come on. Text in the right area there. By submitting your details, you agree to the terms of the data use of set in our privacy. And we link that to the page with the privacy policy. Privacy. Right. Save. We'll close that. And as we can see, we've got our website here, and all the way at the bottom, we have, there we go, grab your free ultimate car cleaning guide, simply enter your details below. People cannot submit because they need to fill out all 3 details. We've put a link to the privacy policy so that when people submit, they agree to the privacy policy, and there's an easy link there. And usually I'd put something like you can unsubscribe at any time. If I go back, when I look at my website and see how I've done it there. Updating this at the moment from a new homepage. As you can see, there's my sign up form. There's the I agree to the data user set out in the privacy policy. And I've put this at the bottom. By subscribing to the email newsletter, you are agreeing to have your email address and data stored and used in accordance with my privacy policy. You understand that you may unsubscribe at any time, and there's a link to take you to the privacy policy. So that is a GDPR compliant sign-up form, and that is how we can create them within MailChimp. Now, something I wanted to go over because there was some conflicting information on being able to offer freebies. Basically, where somebody said to me about not being able to tie, or not tying your freebie in with people having to opt into this. So basically, if I had a freebie, people could get that freebie without actually opting in to communications on my email list. There was a bit of misleading on that, so I did some research recently. And this is what she quoted me. Article 5.1b says personal data shall be collected for specified, explicit and legitimate purposes, and not further processed in a manner that is incompatible with those purposes. Further processing for archiving purposes in the public interest, scientific or historical research purposes or statistical purposes shall, in accordance with, not be considered incompatible with the initial process. So basically what it meant was, what she was saying was, let's see, somebody else wrote it here, and it was on this one. Let's look at this website. Just copy that link. So what it was basically saying was, what this website says, lead magnets, email list, and GDPR. That's just something I wanted to do when I was doing my research. So I'm just going to go through the process on this. Okay, so what it says here is lead magnets have been traditionally used to convert website visitors into email subscribers. But for your audience in the EU, that no longer works. GDPR requires specific, freely given, clear consent. This means you can no longer add someone to your general email marketing list or email newsletter list when they opt in or sign up for a lead magnet or free offer. And then it goes over sort of ways you can work around that. Now, that I've always thought that seems like a bit of a silly rule, because you're putting your hard work, and sometimes a lot of hard work goes into these free offers, and you do it for a reason. It's not actually a free gift. It's an exchange. You're giving value in exchange for somebody's email address and having a fair opportunity to market to them. So I've always absolutely hated that. When I've been told this, I've absolutely hated it. And it was this Article 5b that was quoted to me. If we just go back up here. ensure that if you, so it says at the end here, basically, if this has come from the GDPR or the ICO website, ensure that if you plan to use or disclose personal data for any purpose that is additional to or different from the originally specified purpose, the new use is fair, lawful, and transparent. So this is where you've got your freebie, and it's related to your business. So in this case, the freebie is a car cleaning guide because it's related to car cleaning. It's a car cleaning, car valeting business. So in my privacy policy, I will put in that when you opt in for any freebie, I will contact you with information that is relevant to what you signed up for. So you've opted in for car cleaning guide, and I'm going to send you information and offers based that are relevant to car cleaning. So that's going to be things like coupons, they get 10% off a car cleaning or car valet. And yes, that's entirely relevant to the original source, which, as you can see here, a purpose that is additional to or different from the originally specified. So the use is fair, lawful, and transparent. So yeah, that I in my interpretation of that, it agrees to it. And on another one that I saw here, I'm just going to copy that link. Was it this one that said? Short one. So yeah, as it says here, as far as consent is concerned, if you specifically mention when you offer your lead magnets that by entering their email, the user will receive the freebie, but will additionally receive emails about similar processes and products, then this should also be sufficient. In this way, you're being very clear that they are accepting two distinct things, and it's highly likely that your emails will be useful or can solve a problem for them. It will be beneficial information and not just marketing spam. And then again, it goes on to finally, if you include in every email you send them a clearly locatable link to unsubscribe, then the last point is also covered that they were talking about up here. So as you can see, we've got some two websites offering two very different views on lead magnets. One saying they can't email people if they don't opt in. One saying that by opting in, they're going to understand that you are going to email them about relevant products and services. Then that's absolutely fine. And the other link I wanted to look at as well, which was quite good actually, which is not from MailChimp, but one of their competitors, Aweber. 6 myths GDPR email marketing debunked, and it goes over certain things. So myth number 1, we need to send a re-engagement email. That's not necessarily true. If you haven't got clear consent that people have opted into your list, like you've imported a list of emails, you need to then email them and ask them for consent and get that recorded in your list. So let's just skip all that bit. Myth number 2, I need to add GDPR checkboxes to all of my sign-up forms. So what it's basically saying here, it says that you need to clearly communicate how you will be processing subscribers' personal data, whether that's using a descriptive sentence or two, or using a checkbox if you so choose. So the example it gives here of a GDPR compliant box is really simple and no checkbox. You've got information there about what people are going to get regular information on craft, survival, and outdoor life, starting with 20 free videos today. People know what they're going to get when they sign up. They know they're going to get 20 videos straight away, and it's going to be based around bushcraft, survival, and outdoor life. And simply they enter their name, email address, and click on send me my videos. The click is the positive action. Personally, I like to make sure that people do that checkbox in MailChimp because it will show up on your list. Say that, you know, I agree to the data use as set out in the privacy policy. So you've got that column in your MailChimp list. So that again is, you know, you've got your freebie, 23 videos, and you will be getting, it does say you'll be getting information on bushcraft, survival, and outdoor life. AWeber say this is GDPR compliant, so you know they are probably somebody who knows what they're talking about with respect to this, the fact that they're really in the game of providing these email services. And then it gives you some information here about a little bit more clarity about what can and cannot be packaged in your email. So if somebody buys a product and you obtain their email address because they've bought the product, that doesn't necessarily give them or give you permission to email them some more marketing material. They have not opted in for marketing material, they've bought your product. And that way, separate consent can be captured at the point of purchase that's specific to the purpose of marketing emails or sharing the data with partner companies. Then you might use a separate checkbox to capture this secondary consent. Again, it gives another example here. So if you're collecting email addresses and you're a financial institution, and you allow companies to use that data for marketing purposes, then that is not that's not relevant to you offering your services. You can still offer your services to that user without sharing their information with a third party for marketing purposes. In that respect, people have to be able to opt out of that or not agree to that. So you may use checkboxes for that. So yeah, again, if it's clear and transparent in the no, in this case, yeah, it's not relevant to you offering your services. That's not going to stop you offering your financial services to those people. That's more for your purposes, for marketing purposes. Yeah, that is not. So remember, in the beginning, we said sort of like a minimum information that we need to collect to be able to offer our services. Yeah. It's also the minimum processing we need to do to offer our services as well. By sharing it with third parties is not going to stop us offering our services to them. People have to be able to opt into that as an extra thing as well. Some of the other myths are here as well. Blockchain, we've said we don't need to do that. Anybody that you had before the GDPR rules came in, one of the myths is that it's not subject to GDPR. That's false. GDPR applies to all personal data, even if that was collected before May 25th, 2018. And also, just to let you know, when you say all personal data, if you've got paper records of people, if you're actually writing paper records of people, that is collecting data. That is also subject to GDPR and the rules as well. It's not just relevant to online stuff. One of the other myths is that where the data is stored, it's the company who stores it responsibility. So, for example, if you're storing it on MailChimp, people assume it's MailChimp's responsibility to be compliant with GDPR. that is not true, because you've got access to that data. You're the one that's processing it. You're the one that's doing things with that data. You're the one that can then, send that to third parties, or, use it for illegitimate reasons. MailChimp will do their best to prevent that, and they will shut your account down if you misuse data or spam people. But it's not their responsibility. You're the one that's collecting the data. You're the one that's processing it. You're the one that's responsible. If you're not compliant, you're going to get hit with huge fines. Not necessarily. Obviously, there's a lot of companies out there. Can the ICO really manage all of them? Highly doubt it. They're going to be looking at the big companies. They're going to be looking at big data breaches. They're going to be looking at big data misuse. And even if you aren't completely compliant within the rules, if you're trying to show that you are being compliant, then I'm really not worried about it at all. You're not likely to go and be hit with hefty fines that you really can't afford. It says the fines are, I think it's 20 million euros or 4% of your turnover, whichever is the greatest. Not many small companies out there that are going to be able to afford any of that. If the ICO investigate you, if you can show that you're trying to be compliant, then really I'd say you've got nothing to worry about. But again, as I said in the beginning of this, I am not a legal expert on GDPR. This is basically from my understanding of how to set up MailChimp in order to be able to offer your services and be GDPR compliant. So yeah, I think that's it that I wanted to go over on this video. This is the last MailChimp webinar for March, and I hope that it's been beneficial. Even if it's mainly to just get your forms set out nicely and have them looking nice on your website like this, simple and compliant, rather than the old form where you had the GDPR big horrible listing at the bottom, as we had in the beginning. Just quickly refresh you on that. Yeah. So we've gone from that in the beginning, where we're trying to be GDPR compliant using the MailChimp GDPR settings, which are just awful, not relevant mainly, to having something on our website that looks nice, like that, or like that. Yeah, I hope that's helped, and I will catch up with you all soon. See you next time. Bye-bye.